Mr. President, thank you very much. Honourable members, members of the College. The 23rd of June 2016 will go down in history as a day that shook the United Kingdom and the European Union. A majority of the British voters have expressed their wish to leave the EU. Following this result, which we respect, there is deep, deep regret.
I would in fact like to start by saying to the British people that it is always hard to accept a decision that you disagree with. What makes it so hard for me, and I think also for the other group's leader and for everybody here in this House, is the way it succeeded. The absolute negative campaign. The posters of Mr. Farage showing refugees like in Nazi propaganda because they copied it at that moment. I never thought it was possible that somebody in this House should do a thing like that. The lies also on migration. The lies on, oh, Turkey will join the Union next week. Or the lies on the £350 million that should return immediately to the National Health Service and now don't go back to the National Health Service. It's that climate of fear that has been created, of negativism that has been created. That is the most shocking thing of what happened in Britain. Not the choice of the people, because the choice of the people is democracy. And my last thing will be to Mr. Farage, saying that I'm shocked, Mr. Farage. You are presenting yourself here as a defender of the little man, the hard worker, while you have an offshore financial construction. I don't think that all citizens have offshore financial constructions in Britain. But, okay, let's be positive. Finally, we're going to get rid of the biggest waste in the budget of the Union, that we have paid for 70 years your salary. Thank you.
And I give the floor to Mr. Alyn Smith.
President, thank you. I represent Scotland within this House, and where I'm proudly Scottish, I'm also proudly European. I want my country to be internationalist, cooperative, ecological, fair, European. And the people of Scotland, along with the people of Northern Ireland and the people of London, and lots of people in Wales and England also, voted to remain within our family of nations. I demand that that status and that esprit européen be respected. Now, colleagues, there is a lot of things to be negotiated. We will need cool heads and warm hearts. But please remember this. Scotland did not let you down. Please, I beg you, chers collègues, do not let Scotland down now.
Thank you. On behalf of the European United Left, Ms Anderson.
Thank you. MEPs like Diane Dodds and Marine Le Pen would say that we in the north of Ireland are bound by a UK vote. We say we are not. And like the previous MEP, Mr Smith, we asked you to respect our vote. We stand by the vote of the people of the north of Ireland, just like Scotland, which voted Remain. We accept, we respect, we and we will defend the wishes of the people of the north of Ireland. However, if English votes drag us out of the EU, that would be like Britannia waives the rules. There was a democratic vote. We voted to remain. I tell you that the last thing that the people of Ireland need is an EU border with 27 member states stuck right in the middle of it. You and the EU, you have supported our peace process, and I asked you to continue to do that. Sinn Fein, we went and we worked for a strong Remain vote on the basis of another Europe, a more social Europe, a more democratic Europe. And clearly I say to the Commission and to the Council, you are not listening. You fail to realise the depth of opposition among the ordinary people to their anti-democratic practices and anti-social policies. These social policies, policies and practices must change if the EU is to survive. You have to listen to that. But I asked you to please respect the vote of the people in the north of Ireland.
Vielen Dank, Frau Anderson. Die Message ist angekommen. Vielen Dank.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Message received.
Für die liberale Fraktion spricht.
And I give the floor to Mr. De Graaff on behalf of the ENF.
Op 23 juni.
President, 23rd of June 2016 was a historic day, an amazing day in the history of Europe. The liberation of Europe has begun. The United Kingdom is celebrating. The European Union, the evil union, is losing an important member state, and this is the beginning of the end for this failed project. This union is playing ducks and drakes with the population, with the peoples, and this is at the cost of ordinary people. The voice, the stated opinion of the British people is that sovereignty belongs with the peoples, not just in the UK either. Voters are looking to see their sovereignty restored. This evil union, the process of its disintegration must continue. We must stop with economic and financial UKAS from the European Union. We must have national frontiers. The United Kingdom will be the boss of their own money, their borders and their currency, their money. Now, the Netherlands, France, other countries, all those who have been vassalised, and the time we must learn lessons from the UK and look at the failures, look at the reverses that we've seen in European legislation. Juncker, stop with this Commission. We need a new one. Otherwise, we're going to have a continuation of this evil union.
The FDD.
The FDD group, Mr. Farage.
Good morning. Good morning. Funny, isn't it? Funny, isn't it? Thank you very much for that very warm welcome. How things have changed.
Just a second, Mr. Farage. Ladies and gentlemen, one major quality of democracy is that you listen to those, even if you don't share their opinion.
Well, thank you, Mr. Schulz. Isn't it funny? You know, when I came here 17 years ago, and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you? And the reason you're so upset, the reason you're so angry, has been perfectly clear from all the angry exchanges this morning. You, as a political project, are in denial. You're in denial that your currency is failing. You're in denial. Well, just look at the Mediterranean. No. As a policy to impose poverty on Greece and the rest of the Mediterranean, you've done very well. And you're in denial over Mrs. Merkel's call last year for as many people as possible to cross the Mediterranean into the European Union has led to massive divisions between countries and within countries. But the biggest problem you've got, and the main reason the United Kingdom voted the way that it did, is you have, by stealth, by deception, without ever telling the truth to the British or the rest of the peoples of Europe, you have imposed upon them a political union. You've imposed upon them a political union. And when the people in 2005 in the Netherlands and France voted against that political union, when they rejected the Constitution, you simply ignored them and brought the Lisbon Treaty in through the back door. What happened last Thursday was a remarkable result. It was indeed a seismic result, not just for British politics, for European politics, but perhaps even for global politics too, because what the little people did, what the ordinary people did, what the people who have been oppressed over the last few years and seen their living standards go down, they rejected the multinationals, they rejected the merchant banks, they rejected big politics, and they said, actually, we want our country back, we want our fishing waters back, we want our borders back, we want to be an independent, self-governing, normal nation, and that is what we have done, and that is what must happen. And in doing so, we now offer a beacon of hope to Democrats across the rest of the European continent. I'll make one prediction this morning: the United Kingdom will not be the last member state to leave the European Union. So the question is, what do we do next? Now, it is up to the British government to invoke Article 50, and I have to say that I don't think we should spend too long in doing it. I totally agree, Mr Juncker, that the British people have voted. We need to make sure that it happens. But what I would like to see is a grown-up and sensible attitude to how we negotiate a different relationship. Now I know that virtually none of you have ever done a proper job in your lives, or worked in business, or worked in trade, or indeed ever created a job. But listen, just listen.
Herr Farage, Augenblick.
Mr. Farage, just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, I do understand that you're getting emotional, but you're acting like UKIP normally acts in this chamber, so please, don't imitate them. Mr. Farage, however, I would say one thing to you. The fact that you're claiming nobody has done a decent job in their life, you can't really say that. I'm sorry.
No, you're quite right, Mr. Schulz. UKIP used to protest against the establishment, and now the establishment protests against UKIP. So something has happened here. Let us listen to some simple, pragmatic economics. We, between us, between your countries and my country, we do an enormous amount of business in goods and services. That trade is mutually beneficial to both of us. That trade matters. If you were to decide to cut off your noses, to spite your faces, and to reject any idea of a sensible trade deal, the consequences would be far worse for you than it would be for us. And even no deal is better for the United Kingdom than the current rotten deal that we've got. But if we were to move to a position where tariffs were reintroduced on products like motor cars, then hundreds of thousands of German workers would risk losing their jobs. So why don't we just be pragmatic, sensible, grown-up, realistic, and let's cut between us a sensible tariff-free deal, and thereafter recognise that the United Kingdom will be your friend, that we will trade with you, we will cooperate with you, we will be your best friends in the world. But do that, do it sensibly, and allow us to go off and pursue our global ambitions and future. Thank you.
And now on the EFDD, Mr. Farage.
The London stock market's rallying strongly this morning. It is now 12% up since its February lows. Sterling is weak, but then it started declining from July 2014. And the Prime Ministers of Australia and New Zealand are now vying for who can be the first country from outside the EU to do a trade deal with the United Kingdom. Things are looking pretty good. The only upheaval is political upheaval, where we've seen a Prime Minister resign, and indeed the British Commissioner, Lord Hill, resign. They've both done so, I think, for the right reasons. You never know, we may be getting rid of a Labour Party leader as well. But upheavals in politics can actually be a very healthy and a very good thing. And I got into politics because our political class in Britain led us towards a European political project. So if that result last week sweeps a few of them away, so be it. But I am looking forward next year to celebrating our Independence Day on June the 23rd.
On behalf of the ENF group, Ms. Le Pen.
Ah, yes. Ah, yes, dear colleagues. Why are you getting so het up? Look how beautiful history is when liberty succeeds and the will of the people can body things forth. The UK is leaving after the result of the referendum. This is perhaps the most important historic event in the continent since the fall of the Berlin Wall. It's a signal of liberty, of freedom sent out to the entire world. It's a cry of love of a people for their country. The British have chosen a route which it was thought was closed for all time, and you were some of those who believed it was closed. Those who said it's all irreversible, the European Union is irreversible, the British people have told you where to get off. This is a signal victory for democracy. It's a slap in the face to the European system, which was increasingly based on fear, on blackmail, and on lies. Now, we have seen examples in this chamber, threats of apocalypse, the stock exchange. Well, the British, they saw through that, and they decided in their sovereignty, leaving you to your bitterness and your feigned indignation. For decades, the European Union has been built on the back of ordinary people. France and the Netherlands with their vote. The Irish having to vote again after voting no to Lisbon. The Greeks have been forced to give up their referendum and accept more austerity, and that was forced down their throats. Perpetual poverty was their fate. The European Union the UK has committed the heresy by breaking the chains, linking them to the European Union, and raised as a religion by its propagandists and apologists. Now, if you've been blind for decades by implementing absurd policies which have brought disindustrialization, mass unemployment, and mass immigration, then it's difficult to come back down to reality with a bump and see what is actually happening. The propagandists for the European Union on the left or in the centre or to the right, put away those sulky faces, put away those angry looks, and rejoice in the great emancipation of peoples. This is the end to their contribution to the European Union. economic patriotism, that's a glowing future for the United Kingdom, and that should motivate all of us to build a better future. I can already hear urban myths and false truths being said in order to discourage or deter others from going down the same path, or wishing to bury Brexit by pushing it off to the Greek calends. That is not a democratic method. The European Union has decided, and we must respect their will and that period. And the way ahead is simple. Either you persevere with your expensive bureaucratic Europe, with the crazy schemes of those who want even more Europe at a time when ordinary people want less. And if you do go down that path, I guarantee that this totalitarian organisation will collapse. We have to look for cooperation between free peoples and sovereign nations. For my own country of France, I commit to pursuing the path of liberty, which is the only way to real grandeur, live free peoples, live free United Kingdom, and vive la France. Thank you.
Fraktionslose Abgeordnete.
And now non-attached member Ms Dodds.
Thank you, Mr. President. The people of the United Kingdom have given their verdict, and their decision cannot be rewritten. They have recognised that the EU's problems are not just imperfections, and they have said, let us chart our own course. This referendum represents a victory for democracy. The outcome was not one that our outgoing Prime Minister had hoped for, yet he should be praised for giving the British people their say. For years, the people of the United Kingdom have been trying to tell you of their frustrations and concerns about the European Union. You turned a deaf ear, but today you are listening. Now, though, is a time for cool heads. These institutions, despite what I have heard today, must resist the urge for the